The Black Widow challenge is easily one of my favorite Sims challenges of all time. You basically just marry a bunch of rich people, steal their house, and then kill them and do it over and over again. So by the time you finish, you've got millions of simoleons, a pile of graves, and a bunch of ghosts following you around. And that's my kind of Sims gameplay. That is exactly how I like to play The Sims 4. One of my fondest memories of this YouTube channel was playing the Black Widow challenge. At this point, like years ago, I probably shouldn't even bring it up because this was in like 2017, 2018, and the videos are definitely really embarrassing. But I loved that series. And then when Love Struck came out, I was like, okay, we have to bring this back. We have to play Black Widow again. We literally got a woohoo pack with 2 new death types. Like, this was our time to shine. So I spent ages playing through the whole series over on my Twitch channel, and I knew I was gonna need a really big finale. After all of this effort and making all of this money, and after living through, no offense, 10 different ugly EA builds, we were gonna need something really nice as like the final Black Widow house. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna build the fanciest Black Widow challenge mansion you can imagine. We've got a sauna, we've got a secret vault, we've got Butler's quarters, we have a graveyard in the back. This is a massive house with like basically everything in it. So let's just dive right into the speed build and I'll kind of walk you through what I've made. But first, I should probably walk you through a little bit of the backstory. You'll have more of an appreciation for the evil of these Sims after you've heard a bit more about who they are. And actually, if you want to go back and watch me play with the Sims in this house, I'll link my second channel and the playlist down below. I stream every day on Twitch. My name's just lilsimsie on there, but then I post all of my live streams on YouTube on a channel called Simsie. So if you miss them live and you want to watch it back, you can totally do that anytime. I'll link that for you. But this was like the first thing I did when Love Struck came out. It was like my big stream series playing through Love Struck for the first time. And like I said, the whole Black Widow challenge is just you trying to marry rich and then kill your spouse. And you do it 10 times. So I was kind of trying to go through and marry like all of the big names. People like Vlad, you know, we got Jeffrey Landgrab, Dominic Fires, who I ultimately killed in a fire. He's the big rich guy from Get Together. And if you have seasons, there's a lottery that happens. Well, I went and I found the lottery winner and I married her and I killed her for her money. It's kind of fun to play this challenge now because there are so many townies at this point. Back when I did it the first time, we had way less expansion packs, so I had way less options of different worlds to live in and different people to marry, but now we have so many more, and basically every world has at least one rich family. At this point, why play the 100 baby challenge when you could instead play the 100 spouse challenge? Just an idea. I only married 10 people, but that's the official rules. I definitely could have kept going and kept playing for more. But anyway, long story short, that's what I was trying to do. And I played this one with kind of a fun household. So if you've been watching my channel for a long time, or maybe you went back recently and rewatched Black Widow, I played it with this sim called Phoebe Song, and she had 3 kids, and she had kind of a dramatic life in that YouTube series. She sort of had like an affair partner that she lived with for all time. Like, she kept bringing him along with her and then marrying other men and taking their money, but like still living with this guy called Tag. At one point, Tag dies, and then I like bring him back as a ghost and I try and keep him around and bring him back to life. It was a whole very dramatic situation. Well, that was years ago. And then it kind of got me thinking that when I wanted to replay Black Widow, it would be fun to go back and do it with Phoebe's kids. So I used one of her twin daughters. One of her twins was like evil already. They grew up that way. And so I used that sim to play Black Widow this time. So we're building this house for like a generation of Black Widow challenge sims. But it was fun for me to bring them back because I loved those sims and I hadn't played with them in years. I had to go back and fix them so much because that was back in my custom content era. So when I got the sims off the gallery to like set them back up, they were all naked and bald. So I had to give them complete makeovers and stuff. Oh, they are on my gallery again if you wanted to play with them. It's just funny how much things have changed because get this, I played the Black Widow challenge before seasons existed. So those sims didn't even have hot and cold weather outfits. That just shows you like how dated it was and how long ago it was. It was pre-seasons. It was pre the hot and cold weather outfit update. So when I got the like originals off the gallery, they just had randomized outfits for hot and cold weather because the outfit category didn't even exist when I made them. The Sims has changed a lot since then. Like, so much has changed. And speaking of things changing, I have not talked about the build a single time. So let's discuss what we're aiming for with this because looking at this, you're probably like, Kayla, what are you doing? Okay, so basically I was trying to build this kind of fancy manor house on this lot. I knew I wanted to be dark, and you can see that I had a really, really hard time with windows. I went back and forth so much with the color scheme and with the windows and with the doors. It was a process. At first, I kind of wanted it to be lighter in color and have like white accents, and I realized this is the Black Widow challenge. Like, if any time can have a really dramatic house that's like all black and very dark, this is the time. So forgive my like indecisiveness and confusion there for a little bit. I did figure it out in the end. We ended up using kind of a combination of actually the Riviera Retreat Kit's wallpaper and then a Snowy Escape wallpaper on the corners. And then we have Love Struck windows and a Get Famous door. And that kind of ties the whole place together as one. You're also probably very stressed out by me building this house backwards right now. Yeah, for that, I apologize. We're making this on Judith Ward's lot. Judith Ward famously has what I consider to be one of the worst houses in all of The Sims 4. And so I bulldozed her house and we're building this here instead. But the lighting is kind of bad on this lot. So I started building it backwards and then I'm gonna flip it around to the front once I'm done. It's just easier for me to tell what the colors look like and like how the house is going when I have the sun shining directly on it. Because you can't really see what it looks like when it's all in shadows. So anyway, don't worry about it being backwards. I will put it back around the other way in a second. It just took me a little bit of time to get there. I realize I complain about lighting in every single speed build, but it really does bother me. It's so annoying, so I have to mention it, especially when I'm trying to do weird things like build houses backwards to get around it. So anyway, I know that it looks really dark, the windows are dark, the wallpaper's dark, but you have to remember this is a Black Widow challenge build. Like, it's sort of supposed to be a bit chaotic, it's intentional. I also had a lot of fun figuring out the exterior landscaping and like all of the layout of the front. So you'll see we have that huge fountain right there in the front, and we have this kind of cool like rounded entrance happening by the front door. I was really struggling with this because I wanted it to be round so bad, but of course you can't fit a staircase on like this small of a rounded area, so I used it with like regular diagonals and I had a rounded piece above it. Oh, it was a whole thing trying to decide, but I think it ends up looking really cool, especially with the columns. It just feels very grand as like a fancy formal entryway for a house like this. Appropriately grand considering how massive the build is and also how much money it's worth. You'll see that we have like 400,000 simoleons just sat there in the budget, but we have way more than that. I was building this in a different save file like when I first started it. I actually built this before I finished the Black Widow challenge, so I didn't know exactly how much money I was gonna have, but we ended with like around 3 million simoleons, I think. So budget wasn't really a concern with this one. It was not really something that crossed my mind as I was building it, if I'm being completely honest. So you might see the budget going down, but it's not real. That is a fake number. It doesn't matter. We can have whatever we want in this house, basically. And I took advantage of that. I literally put everything in this house. So you'll see me go inside in just a little bit here, but I'll walk you through some of the stuff that we have in advance just so you can prepare yourselves. So of course we have multiple bedrooms upstairs. My sim has 3 kids, so I've got space for all of the children up there. We also have a live-in butler, so I gave the butler a bedroom. We've got a bedroom for my main sim and her husband. Downstairs, I have a gym, I have an office, I have a library, literally like a room just full of bookshelves. I have 2 living rooms, one that has a TV and one that's a bit more formal. We have a games room inside. We have a bar, like a fully separate bar room. We have a kitchen and we have a formal dining room as well. And then in the basement, we have a wine cellar and a secret like vault room place. And that's not even counting the big open stair landing, because the stair landing upstairs is kind of its own space itself. And then in the back, we have a graveyard, a pool. We've got like a bar area back here. There's a gazebo. I mean, there's like literally everything you can think of in this house. We were sat there like, okay, how are we gonna fill in all these rooms? I started doing the floor plan and I was like, wow, all right, so what are we gonna do to make this space look full? We were just throwing out random ideas. Hence me having a library and an office and a gym and a sauna. I mean, like literally everything. Everything's in here. Especially because I wanted to have a lot of different woohoo spots and a lot of different death trap areas. That sounds bad, but again, it's a Black Widow challenge mansion. So I was just thinking like, oh, you can woohoo in the money vault. You can woohoo in the sauna. Let's make sure we have all of those things so that we've got options. I think my favorite part though is the back. I love how the back of this house looks, combined with like the pool and the fancy shape of the building and the view from the outside. I'll show you it a little bit more close up once we're actually in the game doing a tour at the end. But there's something about all of this that I think just works so well together. It's very symmetrical, right? Because the whole thing's trying to be very fancy. And I've got these hedge fences. We've got like fancy landscaping sections. I was really having a blast doing this. The one on the left side over here is going to be the graveyard. So we're going to put all of our spouses' graves back there. I married and killed 10 people, but I have a couple of extra graves as well. That sounds so bad. But like, just for an example, I tried to marry Nancy Landgrab, and then she got by Neighborhood Stories and she died on her own. I think she like fell off a mountain or something. So I had to marry Jeffrey instead of Nancy. Well, I had both of their graves, and I didn't kill Nancy, okay? I was not involved. That was her fault. But I had an extra grave, basically. Same thing, I married Ted Roswell, who was the mayor of Strangerville. But I did kill his wife. I was the problem in that situation. There was a heat wave, and I sort of trapped them both outside and let nature take its course. So I have Meredith's grave as well as Ted's. So again, I needed a big graveyard space, so I had a little bit of extras that I needed to leave in. And I did something so chaotic throughout the whole gameplay of this. So basically, I married and killed 10 people. That's the whole point of the challenge, right? I did that. But the whole time, I had this, I'll call him a lover. We had this lover, you know Kyle Kyleson, right? We decided to start dating Kyle because he invited himself over to sleep at our house. And then we were like, oh, wait a minute, Kyle. And so we kind of just got with Kyle and then kept him around forever. It was sort of a nod to my original Black Widow challenge because I mentioned how my original sim had that partner called Tag and he just like stayed with us the whole time. Well, much like her mother, my sim had a partner like that and he was just like Tag, except he was Kyle instead. I think Tag walked so that Kyle could run because Kyle Kyleson did not even exist when I first played this challenge, but they're kind of the same character, like personality-wise, same guy. But we sort of kept Kyle around and we would tell people like, oh, Kyle's our live-in nanny. Kyle's our assistant. Kyle's the pool boy. Like, we would just say that, oh, he works for us. We have a butler and then we have Kyle. But actually, Kyle was our one true love. And we were keeping him around because he was in on it. Like, Kyle was there and he was sort of helping us a little bit. I don't know if Kyle, like, fully understood the severity of the situation. He was kind of like, if you've seen Emperor's New Groove, it's kind of like Yzma and Gronk, but Kyle is Gronk. And I don't think he like fully understood what was going on, but he knew that we loved him and that he was helping us get rich so that our family could be successful. And so Kyle lived here and we ended up having kids with him. I had Risky Woohoo on like 20% or something. And then I would woohoo with my spouse, but I would also woohoo with Kyle. And it was like, I don't know who the other parent's gonna be until the baby's born. Well, I had 2 kids with Kyle and 1 with Victor Fang. But we always told people like, oh, it's Jeffrey's baby. It's Jeffrey's baby. But it was Kyle's baby and just no one knew. And after we finally got rid of all of our spouses, then me and Kyle could be openly together forever. And the spouses actually never caught us cheating on them. So that was fun. It was also kind of an experiment with like the new romantic boundaries, because keep in mind, when I started playing this, the boundaries had just come out in the update. So I was kind of testing it where like Kyle didn't mind if we flirted or woohoo with somebody else, but obviously our spouses would have minded if they saw us with Kyle. And my sim, she would have minded if Kyle was with somebody else, but Kyle didn't care because he was in on it. Does that make sense? It's all very complicated. It's all a very complicated excuse to have an evil sim kill all of her spouses, but it was for science. I was testing it out for science. And I'm telling you all of this now because we're making this mansion for my sim and her future husband Kyle to live in together. The whole big finale of the series was marrying Judith Ward, killing her, bulldozing her house, and then finally proposing to Kyle and then getting married to Kyle in the backyard of our new mansion. And when I did it, I like summoned all of the ghosts of our spouses. So we stood there in the graveyard and we married Kyle with like all of the ghosts of our exes surrounding us. It was actually kind of beautiful. But at this point, you've seen pretty much the whole exterior. I've gone through and landscaped like basically everything in the back, so you've got more of an idea of how it's going to look. And we are finally moving on to the interior of the house. And I'm so excited about this. We started off by trying to like figure out some cool floor plan stuff. We've basically got a huge fancy entryway, and that entry has this nice checkerboard tile. It's just a base game tile. It's like a base game marble, but I placed it in a checkerboard pattern. I put like a bunch of black ones, then a bunch of white ones down to make it look like a checkerboard. In this house, there's a lot of black, white, and red going on pretty much everywhere. There's also quite a bit of like fancy pattern and fancy wallpaper. I picture the sim definitely hired like an interior designer to come and do her house up for her. And I tried to use a fair bit of Lovestruck stuff, like the new Lovestruck rugs and the new Lovestruck furniture, Lovestruck bear blankets that you can woohoo in. So you'll see quite a few of those things around. And I'm starting with the kitchen. So I was going back and forth a lot on this because some people in my Twitch chat were like, make it a tiny kitchen that only the butler uses. But I think realistically, we probably want it to be a bit nicer than that because our Sims will still be in here. So we have this really massive fancy kitchen using a lot of vampire stuff in here. I've got like the 13,000 simoleon stove and fridge. And then there's a doorway, and that doorway I just placed down, that leads to the butler's quarters. So the butler has their own staircase to get upstairs, and so the butler can use the kitchen very easily. And it's also kind of like a pantry almost where the staircase goes. It's all black and white except for these beautiful Get Famous sort of red tufted bar stools. I don't use the Get Famous furniture very often. It's a little bit much for me, so I kind of find it hard to use in most of my builds, but like this is the time. This is the perfect opportunity for Get Famous chaos, especially since so much of it is like, I don't know how to explain this, but it's kind of gaudy and it's a lot with the tufting and the gold and some of it's like zebra print, but unfortunately that means it goes really well with like pretty much everything from Lovestruck. So it was a fun combo to put together. I just feel like I should maybe warn you a little bit in advance that some of the furnishings in this house, they're not what I would personally select. It's not exactly my personal style. But that's okay, because I'm currently building a house for someone who murdered 10 people for their money. So I don't really have much in common with her, and I don't expect that you do either. Some of the most fun that I have building in The Sims is when I'm trying to build things that are kind of chaotic and like intentionally making them not bad, but like making them different from what I would normally do, or like different from what I would personally choose. Like for example, I put the bear rug in front of the fireplace. I would never have a bear rug in my real life house. Oh my God. The idea of an animal skin on my floor is sickening to me. But of course this Sim would have it. Like obviously she would have it. I also don't think I've ever had a dedicated bar room in one of my Sims builds. I usually put bars in my Sims builds, at least from time to time. Like for example, I often have a bar on the patio or like a bar in the dining room. But in this house, we have a bar room. The whole room is a bar. And I've never, I don't think, done that before. So that was kind of a fun thing to get to try. I also pushed 2 tables together to make a slightly bigger dining table. I didn't need to do that, but this way it has 10 seats. And I kind of liked the idea of a dinner party that I could bring all of my ex-spouses to. So I wanted to have the 10 seats in this dining room. There's of course not room for me at the dining table then, but that's okay. I don't really want to be around them if possible. I don't need to sit at the table, that's fine. Also, funnily enough, I've got a Lovestruck dining chair in this room. We also have Lovestruck bar stools in the room next door, but they're the exact same color as the fancy ones that I use in the kitchen, and those are from Get Famous. So thankfully, Get Famous and Lovestruck, their color schemes work pretty well together. They have some of those same swatches. At least this swatch is the same. They don't have that many similar swatches, but there's a couple. So that makes things a little bit easier for us. While we're working on some furnishing though, I like to use my speed builds kind of as like podcasty spaces for life updates. And I have quite a few life updates today because I was just gone out of the country for a week. This is the first video I'm recording since I got back. So I'm finally back to normal, no more pre-recorded content. We're back on a regular schedule again. But I went to London to visit my husband Dan's, are you sneezing? Okay, bless you. There's a cat here, in case you didn't see it. If you see any movement, it's my cat Snap. But I went to London last week to visit my husband Dan's family and also to go and see Taylor Swift because we got tickets to see her in London. So I saw Taylor on the 16th and then we spent the rest of the week at Dan's parents' house. It was really fun. His mom and sister came to the concert. It was amazing as expected. I've seen Taylor Swift a couple times this tour, but we went to see her in Wembley, and I've been to Wembley once before, but seeing her in Wembley is like unbelievable. When I saw her in Tampa, just for some context, the Tampa stadium I think fits like 65,000 people. Wembley had 92,000. So it is just massive. The scale of that is like hard to even imagine until you're there. And we were up pretty high, like in the nosebleeds on the side of the stage, and the like height of you and looking down at all of the people. It's kind of scary. It's kind of scary up there, but it was really cool to see her there. It was amazing. Dan's mom also drove us to the stadium, which honestly was really brave of her. I could not do that personally. It worked out pretty well though. She booked a parking space at a grocery store kind of nearby. It was like a 10-15 minute walk away from the stadium, and then we were able to get out a little bit easier. There was still traffic, but it wasn't like the worst thing in the world. It was the traffic on the way to the concert that was definitely worse. I think leaving wasn't as bad, and that's saying something because leaving out of a concert is always a nightmare. The real bad part was that we flew into London the day of the concert because I had tickets for the 16th. I refused to fly on my birthday, and it's an overnight flight. My birthday is the 14th. So we had to fly like on the night of the 15th and then land on the 16th the morning. So our plane landed at like 6 a.m. UK time, and then of course the concert was that day. Problem is, 6 a.m. UK time is 1 a.m. for me at home, and the plane landed at that time. So we had to like make it through the whole day, and then make it to the concert, and then make it through the concert, and then make it home again, running on like no sleep, because you can't sleep on that flight. You can, well, at least I can't. I can't sleep on that flight. Some people probably can. I have a hard time sleeping on planes. I was worried about it, but actually by the time that I got to the concert, I was like fine again. I was tired during the day. Like the morning was hard when we got to Dan's parents' house, but once we actually got to Wembley, I was fine again. It's like the adrenaline of the concert keeps you going. So I was okay, I made it through. And oh my God, doing that flight and then staying with family is so helpful because you get off this nightmare plane and then like somebody can pick you up. Miracle. And then you get to their house at 7 in the morning and you can take a shower. I needed that so bad. I felt like a new person when I got off that plane and then finally showered. And you can't really do that when you stay in a hotel because they're not gonna let you check in at 6 a.m. I mean, they might, but it's very unlikely that you can check in that early. So I was very relieved to be staying with his parents. So that was the first day. The next day we kind of just hung around at home with family. We went to like his cousin's birthday. I went into London one day and I went to like 6 bookstores. This is so embarrassing, but I bought 10 books when I was in London. Well, I picked out 9 and Dan picked out 1, but I'll probably read his book too. So we bought 10 books. The thing is though, books are cheaper there, which is helpful, but also they have so many special editions of books and like different covers and different versions of books that we don't have here. So there's a lot of them that I kind of had my eye on going into it, because their cover was better. Like for example, I've been meaning to buy this book called A Study in Drowning for ages. Well, the UK cover just is better. It just is, so I got their version instead. There's a book series called Once Upon a Broken Heart. If you look up these covers, the American version is like black, plain, with like a thing in the middle. The UK version is like a gilded fairy tale fantasy stained glass window. Why would I pick out plain black when I could have fantasy stained glass window instead? So you understand where I'm coming from. So basically I had to buy 10 books while I was there. But it was worth it. It was worth it. I brought a big suitcase with extra room on purpose because I knew what I was getting into. And it was a really good time though. I've been going on like grand bookstore tours of cities a lot for the past couple of years. Like when I was in Amsterdam for TwitchCon, I went to so many bookstores as well, but I only bought 1. I went to New York City, went to like 5 bookstores. I only bought 1. So here, actually, I have rewarded myself for my previous times of showing restraint. So it was fine. And it was my birthday, so I deserved it. No, you understand. I don't need to justify myself to you. You get it. We're all the same. We're all the same deep down, right? But most of the trip was about like seeing friends and family and stuff. I feel like I've mentioned Dan a lot, but not actually said who he was. So if you're new to my channel, Dan's my husband. He's British. He moved to the US almost exactly 3 years ago, actually. We had like a whole immigration visa process and stuff. We got married 3 years ago exactly. Our anniversary is actually tomorrow. So when I keep saying Dan's family, I mean I was staying at my husband's parents' house while I was there. That was probably context I should have given like 10 minutes ago before I started yapping. But anyway, I think I'm done now. So we can talk about the build again. I've yapped enough about nonsense. Let's yap about The Sims. So in that time, I furnished the library, I furnished the gym, and now we're finally moving on to work on the office space over here. So you might be wondering, Kayla, why do you have a library and an office? Just because I have room. That is the only reason. I had space for it. So I did. So we've got a space with like all of these fancy bookshelves, which by the way, I'm obsessed with. This is my dream. I would do anything to have this many bookshelves. We have a wall downstairs that I so badly want to put built-in bookshelves like all the way across. I'm thinking like floor to ceiling, put a ladder in, and it's like the perfect spot downstairs. That is like on my bucket list for the next couple of years. I will get my wall of bookshelves. I could probably do it in here too, because this wall could fit floor to ceiling bookshelves, but I don't need that many. Maybe someday, but not now. This room has books in it, but it also has trinkets. I need them for both. The Sims library though was a great way to take up space. And I kept joking about how like we married all of these people, so we probably have a very large collection of books because I kept taking their houses over and like stealing all of their stuff. So over the years, we would have amassed a great collection of literary works. I feel like people like Jeffrey Landgrab probably has a pretty extensive library, and then I moved into his house, took all his stuff, and then killed him. So where do the books go? This room. This is where they belong. I did struggle a lot with the color scheme in here because I wanted to have like maybe wooden bookshelves, but it looked kind of bad. So I was going back and forth between wood and then also between black, but I settled for black. The whole house is black and red. We can't have just one room that's different. I thought about putting a different flooring in there, but then I was like, I always complain about that. We can't have just one that's worse, so I didn't do it. Now, this room, you might be thinking, Kayla, there's more bookshelves in there. What are you doing? Don't you already have a library? Yeah, this is the office. And they have books in here too. So this room is mostly just a space to have a computer in, but I used the bookshelves from the Crystal Creations pack because they're so good. I wanted to use those for the other room, but they weren't as tall and they didn't have as many good wood swatches. So I wanted to use them both in separate spaces. I love the red, and there's also like a red paneling from vampires. I don't think I've ever used that before. So I liked the idea of trying to fit it in here because again, it's nice to have a place to try things that I don't ever go for, and I never use that vampires paneling. And then plus it's kind of like a fun ode to one of our previous spouses where I have like a vampire wallpaper in honor of Vlad. I spend way too much time thinking about Vlad. I don't know why, he's just always on my mind. It's kind of embarrassing. Are there any townies that are like that for you with The Sims? Like if there was just one townie that you had to pick that was like, not your favorite, but like the townie who lives in your mind rent-free, who would it be? Because for me, I have three. It's Vlad, Eliza Pancakes, and Nancy Landgrab. The way I will just go on and on and on about those three Sims, let me know in the comments down below. Who is it for you? And it doesn't have to be in a good way. Like, what Sim do you just, you know? Okay, anyway, I'm finally working on the TV room. So there's two living rooms in this house. One of them's a bit more formal and it has like the piano and the fireplace. I kind of called it the tea room, and it's got like a tea set and stuff. This one is the TV room, and so it's got the big giant TV and like more of a sitting area for your Sims to actually watch the TV in. Of course, I used a ridiculously huge and expensive TV, and we've got some kind of fancy stuff in here furniture-wise. I used the Growing Together couch. It's kind of funky. It's like rounded a little bit. I've actually never used that one before. I don't really ever go for that, so it's kind of fun to try it in this space. I feel like this whole house has a lot of a mix between like really old traditional stuff and then like some very modern kind of trendy furniture as well. And I think that's fitting because I'm kind of trying to pretend that it's an old house that's been renovated. Obviously, we know that we bulldozed Judith Ward's house yesterday and then built this instead, so it's not an old house, but I want it to feel like it's an old house. An old house owned by a very fashionable lady with a lot of money to buy whatever she could ever possibly want. There's this one painting from Lovestruck. You'll see me use it quite a few times in this house. It's got a very fashionable lady just in the photo. I love that picture, and I feel like it totally embodied what I was trying to do. So I did use that quite a few times across this place. It's also worth like 2,000 simoleons, maybe like 1,500, I can't remember, but it's expensive, so it felt appropriate for what I was trying to do here. And then pretty much everywhere has some fancy black paneling, lots of wallpaper accents. I also tried to get a couple of cute things for the dog because my Sim had a dog in this household. It was a fancy poodle named Spider. So I felt like Spider deserved to have a lot of things dedicated for just them. I even considered making Spider a bedroom, but I just don't like the dog furniture enough in this game. If we maybe had some more dog stuff it would be easier, but we don't have enough of it. I say it all the time, but I would love to have a better dog bed. Just one that isn't so flat. I would do anything to have a slightly improved dog bed. I tried to use it here too, but I don't like the colors. Everything I tried, I felt like it looked bad. I ended up keeping it anyway, but I was not happy about it. I was complaining, just like I am right now. I complained about these exact same things probably like 7 times on stream. Anyway, I put a bubble blower there. I don't know why I never use those. I always kind of forget that they exist. It's from City Living, and I used it a little bit in the gameplay of this. We kept going on dates to like that rooftop bar and using them there. So I put one in the house. And then this room, it's kind of like the little doorway to the back door. It's right in the front entrance. I put a games table in here. So it's got a card table and some fancy chairs at it. We need some more card tables too. I would really love to have some new and improved swatches on these, but I did like how it looked well enough, so I kept it. And it's fun for gameplay, even though I wasn't thrilled about the color scheme. We need one that's just like plain wood. It needs to match one of the plain base game dining tables, to be honest. Or like if there is a way for you to play card games at any table instead of just at the card tables, that would be great too. But we have so many games now. You can do puzzles, you can play Jenga basically, but it's called Don't Wake the Llama. You know, there's a lot of options, but I don't really use them that much in gameplay because I don't want to have the ugly tables. They're either really traditional, really modern, or they have no swatches. Like the base game one only has 3 swatches. So they could really go back and update that, I think. If they're gonna do a swatch update again, I have a long list of things I want them to update. I made a whole video about this, but I'm still like really crossing my fingers for a swatch update. I guess like next week, because the Sims 10th anniversary is like next week. I want beds and couches to get updated, kitchen counters to get updated, rugs, and that stupid base game card table. I would really like some more options on that one. It only has 3, and it's like brown and green, red and black, and gray and black. But I just want plain white, plain black, and like a wood color. Is that too much to ask? Apparently it is for The Sims 4. Anyway, we're in the basement now. This basement is entirely unnecessary. I just wanted to have a secret vault, and I knew I had to do something to make it seem like I didn't have a room just for the vault. So I put a wine cellar down here, which I think actually kind of makes sense for a fancy person like this. We have a table and like a place to actually make wine, and a place to drink it, a place to store it. And then there's a totally not suspicious bookcase door right there next to the table. And through that bookcase door is a second vault door, and then another locked vault. I needed a place to put all of our money, so I put a vault down there. I never ever use those. I don't remember even the last time that I had a vault in one of my Sims builds. They're just really big, and I don't really have a need for them most of the time. Like, most of my Sims don't have the space for it anyway, let alone like a reason to need to put stuff in one. But if you put enough money into those vaults, you can woohoo in it. So it had to be done for the Black Widow challenge. I felt like I had to as the ultimate finale, and I'm not kidding. I told you already that we had our wedding in the graveyard. The last thing that I did in this save was bring my Sim and her new husband downstairs, and I had them woohoo in the pile of all the money they stole. And there's something kind of poetic about that. Like, happy end of the Black Widow challenge, let's woohoo in our riches. It was kind of good. We're finally upstairs again though. This is the last little bit that we're gonna do all the bedrooms. And the first thing I'm doing is actually the butler's quarters. So if you have Vintage Glamour, you can have a live-in butler that your Sim can hire. It's basically like a combo of a maid and a nanny, except they live there. And they do everything, like seriously everything. They take care of babies, they cook you dinner, they clean stuff, they repair objects. It's really nice. They do need to have a bed because they live with you. So I made a bedroom for that Sim. You don't really need to have this much space for them. And I was kind of trying to balance this because part of me wanted to have it be like almost an apartment for the butler. But the problem is I didn't want to have a functional kitchen because I really did not want the Sims to autonomously cook in here. So I basically tried to make a non-functional kitchenette. I put a kettle up there for tea, and we have like a fruit bowl and stuff, but I didn't want the Sims to use this area. The butler has their own bathroom and their own shower. They've got like a little desk space and a TV area, but mostly I don't really see the butlers watching TV or like even showering a lot of the time. They're not very good at taking care of themselves, which is kind of sad, but I put these things here anyway. And they have their own private staircase to get up, but also some bookcase doors to have direct access to the second floor so they can come and go freely. If I was playing here, I would probably lock lock those doors for my other Sims because I wouldn't want them to go in there and like use the butler's bathroom autonomously, but it's nice to have it there. And then I made a walk-in closet because of course my Sim, after all of this, she's gonna have a fancy dedicated closet space. So I gave her one attached to her bedroom. She's got a walk-in fancy ensuite bathroom and a huge bedroom. I cut out all of the bathrooms and the hallway furnishing from this because the video was already like almost an hour long, so I had to kind of remove some parts to make it a bit more reasonable. But I'll show you the full thing in the tour at the end. I will say I had a very hard time with this bedroom because I wanted to use the most expensive bed, but I don't like how it looks. So I was grappling a lot with like, this is the best bed, I can make my own custom canopy around it, but also I don't like how it looks. So it was hard for me to decide. I also ended up putting a vanity in here. We've got a fireplace. It was a process though to figure out how the room was gonna look. I think I was overthinking it as per usual. When I watch stuff like this back and I watch back my indecisiveness, it's hard. It's like hard and embarrassing to look at it and think about how it took me like half an hour in real life, in real time to figure this room out, and it's not even that good. It's so embarrassing. I just wanted it to be good so bad. And I feel like the primary bedroom is the most important part of the house because my Sims worked their whole lives. Well, worked is a weird way of putting it. That they, you know, married a bunch of people and took their money so they could have this room, and it wasn't even that nice. It's not bad, it wasn't how I was envisioning it to be. I think that's the problem I'm trying to face. It does have that super cute little balcony door. It's kind of like a Juliet balcony, so they can't actually go out there really. I guess they can, but it's only one tile wide, so I didn't put anything out there. It's mostly just decorative, but I love that kind of thing. I think it looks so good. The vanity is another one of those lesser used items, at least by me. I don't put it in my builds very often. We only have 3 vanities. There's 2 from Vintage Glamour and 1 from the Modern Luxe kit, and I find them all kind of hard to match into most of the bedrooms. Sometimes it works, like in here with the black and the gold, it's perfect, but the one that has wood colors, it looks kind of old and almost like a little bit rustic, and this one looks kind of like it's made out of plastic a lot of the time, and the other one is metal framed, which is fine but only works in certain rooms, right? So I don't put them everywhere, and I also don't ever actually use them. They have gameplay, you can put makeup on at them, but like when you do makeup at them, it does preset makeup from EA, and EA makeup isn't always the cutest looking makeup, nor are the like preset ones that they created for this. But anyway, we're doing the last little bit now, and these are gonna be a really, really strong departure from the rest of the build because these are the bedrooms for our kids. So my Sim has 3 sons, and they all have rooms kind of in one wing of the house over here. They are not all black and red like the rest of the house. They are just normal kids' rooms because I felt like the boys didn't deserve to suffer through having like a dark and dreary room just because their mom wanted like the style of it to be that way. So I used fun colors and bright stuff. They all look expensive and they have a lot of toys and a lot of fancy items, but they're not like red and black. Bella Goth might force her kids into that, but these kids, they're a bit more colorful, I guess, in their personal preferences. We have 1 child, 1 toddler, and 1 infant in this house as well. So I'm obviously doing the infant's nursery room right now, and I loved doing this. It's just fun to make a little rainbow room, especially after spending hours and hours and hours building an all black and red house. It's a fun contrast to decorate this one instead. I don't know if you're gonna hate this part or not though. I was a little bit worried about this because it is a departure, so I'm sorry if it looks bad and I didn't make like a goth baby room, but I like the rainbow. It was cute. I actually, now that I think about it, cannot remember the kids' names. I think one of them was called Benedict. We had a bunch of fancy names like that. Benedict was one of them, but I don't remember the other 2. I'm not sure. I finished the challenge and I stopped playing in the save and I just like instantly forgot about my own children. Maybe someday, like 6 years from now, I'll play Black Widow challenge again and I'll use one of those kids and I'll remember again. But for now, I don't have a single clue. You know what? I have a controversial opinion about this, by the way. That stupid changing table is so useless. I need to stop putting them in builds. I never use the changing table. In fact, I actually find it kind of annoying to have one. I would rather just bathe the kid or like change the kid's diaper by standing up, because if you don't have a changing table, they'll change them anywhere. If you do, they'll autonomously use the changing table. But sometimes I don't want them to. Just stay put. It's quicker where you are. It looks good. Like it seems nice to have more nursery furniture, but I think functionally for gameplay, it's not worth using. And I have one final complaint. These bookshelves that I'm using are from the kids' room stuff pack. The big one, it's 2 tiles wide, enormous, beautiful. It's only 300 simoleons. There's a matching one, same swatches, looks like it fits perfectly, 1 tile wide, 1,500 simoleons. Now, why are they gonna be the same bookshelf, but one be that much more expensive? And why is it that the smaller one is the more expensive one? Like, that makes no sense to me. I had never noticed that until I did this build, and now I can't stop thinking about it. I've probably talked about it like 4 times in videos now, so I'm starting to bring it up again, but like, why? Why is it more expensive like that? It makes no sense. Okay, sorry, stop ranting. We are finally just about done with the build. So what I'm gonna do now is pop into the game and give you a tour of the finished product. We'll do it real time because I know sped up can be kind of a lot, and I cut some things out of this that I want to show you. If you're looking for it on the gallery, my name's just lilsimsie on there. It's called the Black Widow Challenge Mansion or something, easy to find. So like I said, I built this in Del Sol Valley with the intention of replacing Judith Ward's nightmare house. I actually think that calling it a nightmare house is almost a compliment compared to what it actually is. I mean, you've seen this before. This has gotta be one of the worst things that they've ever built. It has so much potential, and instead it looks like a face with a mustache to me. I actually don't hate the inside. It's kind of cool and fancy, but the outside just does not have the oomph that it needs to be like the #1 celebrity mansion in the game. So let me just get rid of that real quick. Oh, my bad. It's called the Black Widow Manor on the gallery. It costs 459,000 simoleons. It has every single pack. This is actually shameful. And it's about 5 bedrooms and 6 bathrooms. I don't have enough money. Judy, let me get rid of the clouds real quick too, because that's definitely not helping. And then I will show you around. That way you can actually see and appreciate the view. But look at this. Like, isn't that so cool with the view from this lot? This is kind of an overview of the front of the building and like the layout of the whole yard. Very simple, symmetrical manor style front, but we have a lot of fancy things like this fountain. We've got kind of like a courtyard almost that we own. I was trying to channel this vibe by putting that courtyard up there, and I think that you can kind of see what I mean. I sort of wanted it to look like this all was a part of the same space, because it is. Like, we live over here. We would use this stuff too, but it's hard to match it exactly. Of course. The back, by far, favorite part. I'm obsessed with this pool. We've got little fountains. I've got like some fancy potted trees over here. We have our graveyard space with a picnic blanket right next door. I know that some people in real life like to go and visit their loved ones' graves and like celebrate them by like having picnics nearby, but that's not what this is. This feels a lot more sinister. Like, my sim murdered these people, and she's here having picnics and like woohooing on top of their dead bodies. She's mean. That's so messed up. Anyway, over here we have a little gazebo space and like a cool fire pit. I put a couple garden pots as well. We've got a little private hidden area for our trash cans over this way. And that's kind of the overview of the whole outside. When you first come inside, you walk into this really fancy entryway. You can go directly forward into our games room. We also have a downstairs bathroom right here. So we've got kind of a cute little area with a separate toilet space. It's kind of golden, this toilet. I was trying to go for expensive, clearly. Over to the left, this is the formal living room. So we've got a little fireplace blanket where you can woohoo. There's a chess table, a piano, and this is that tea set I was talking about, because you can literally have tea in the tea room. Forward from there, we have the formal dining room right here, and then you can enter into the really fancy bar space as well. So just lots of entertaining can take place in this whole section. Of course, we have the kitchen down here. It's huge. It's got some fancy appliances. And then the butler can access this doorway. We have like the fire stuff, the dog bowls, the trash can. I'll show you the butler's quarters first too, because the butler has like a laundry room upstairs and then their own bedroom apartment space with a bathroom. I love the separate staircase. Plus it helps to take up space because the house is so big. But also downstairs across the other side, this is that more informal living space with the TV. We have our TV room right here with like some fancy beams. There's a bathroom downstairs. This door takes you into the basement, but we also have the fancy office. We have the gym with like a yoga space, gym equipment, a TV, a sauna. I've never used this flooring before. It looks like it would be really hot if you stepped on it, but it's cool and it looks cool. So I put it there. And then we have, of course, the fancy library. In the basement, we have kind of that wine cellar. It's trying to be like rustic, but in a hip way sort of vibe. And then we have the vault as well. I put 2 secret doors to get to the vault, plus the vault itself can lock. And then when you come back to the middle and go upstairs, there's kind of just a big open hallway area. I put things like some seating and a piano and a fish tank, just random stuff to fill up space in the hallway. We have, of course, that butler's quarter over here, but then you can also access the primary bedroom. So they have a little doorway for their ensuite bathroom, their closet, and then their fancy bedroom. I put these curtains that like completely cover the windows. I don't know if this looks bad or not, but I think it's okay. They also have like a costume trunk. I put like some jewelry out on display. Obsessed with this furniture too, with like all these fancy clothing items. And then down on this side, we've got 2 more bathrooms in the hallway. They're both quite big and kind of fancy. And then we have the 3 kids' bedrooms. I showed you me making this one and this one, but we also have this one. This is where it kind of went off the deep end a little bit. It's really chaotic, but maybe in a fun way. I don't know. These kids are rich, and I like the idea of their mom just giving them everything. Whatever they want, they can have it, hence the funky carpet. And then there's also an extra staircase over here. I cut this out of the build, but I have an attic upstairs. I didn't really need to use this, but I kind of wanted to, just so we had an excuse to use some more of the space up here. So I put like Christmas decorations, but I also have a little nod to every single one of the Sims that we married. Like, for example, I married Megumi Ito, who's like the rich famous lady from Mount Komorebi, and I had her fall off a mountain, so I put some skis there for her. I married Thomas Watson, who's the rich guy from Henford on Bagley, and I had him get killed by his own chickens, so I've got a chicken right there. I have this Strangerville artwork for the mayor of Strangerville. Dominic Fires I killed by having him start a fire with this celebration cannon, so I put that for him. There's a coffin for Vlad. I put like a puffer fish on the wall because I killed Jeffrey with poison. So it's just a little funny nod to all of the Sims that I did. It's like a shrine to all the different death types in The Sims 4. And that is the fully finished build. So I know it was a long one. Hopefully you enjoyed getting a chance to see this. I love to build a mansion in The Sims, and I don't do stuff like this very often. It is absolutely enormous. So hopefully it was fun for you. Thank you for watching. And I think on that note, I'm gonna end this video right here. If you want to see some pictures from my trip, I did some Instagram posts while I was gone. My name is just lilsimsie on Instagram, and I'm back and streaming like normal again. So my name is just lilsimsie on Twitch. I'll link those both down below for you. Have the best rest of your day, and I'm gonna catch you all tomorrow. Okay, bye everybody. Let me know if I should renovate Judy's mansion for real, because I have not really renovated it in a long time. I've made like replacements, but it might be interesting to try and renovate it.